Journal entry 17. Home is where the heart is. I woke up to the smell of eggs and bacon. Diamond was in the kitchen, moving confidently from the stove to the counter, while Nick sat at the table sipping his coffee. They were deep in conversation about how Mom had been scammed by the building owner. As I walked in, I caught the tail end of the story, and my subconscious immediately held up a sign that said, Karma. My mom's logic was strange. I still don't know what made her think that stealing my clothes would somehow help her to open a store. So she wanted to be a business owner so bad that she was willing to steal from her own child? That's crazy. But thankfully, living with Diamond and Nick gave me a sense of normalcy. And to my surprise, Nick wasn't all that bad. He wasn't being mean to me like I'd expected. He was quite, dare I say, cordial, but he was mostly gone out working with Dad. Diamond, on the other hand, was quick to set a routine for me, school, chores, and homework. But I didn't mind at all. It kept me grounded. And as a reward, she took me to the salon to get my hair braided and took me shopping since, thanks to Mom, I barely had any clothes. Bit by bit, I started to get into the rhythm, school during the day, helping out at home, and dinners that didn't feel like chaos. But one afternoon, while I was washing dishes, Diamond noticed the scar on my head. She asked me where it came from. A car accident, I replied. What happened? She asked. But I really didn't want to think about it, but told her the story anyway. I was only 4 at the time, before seatbelts were enforced. Whenever Mom was a passenger, she always let me sit in the front seat on her lap. And that day, Kelly was driving. We had stopped at a restaurant, and Mom and Kelly got into an argument over chicken of all things. In the middle of driving, they were playing tug of war with the last piece, and that's when Kelly slammed into a parked car. And the next thing I knew, I was lying in a hospital bed, a doctor stitching my head while asking me questions to keep me awake. I can still remember the bright lights above me and the sting of the needle. As I finished the story, I glanced at Diamond. The look on her face said it all, shock and disbelief. So you nearly lost your life over chicken? She asked softly. Yeah. I sighed, but she put her hand on my shoulder and said, I think maybe we should consider getting you a therapist. Journal entry 18. Mom had been calling me nearly every day for the past month, very unusual for her. It was the most positive attention I'd ever gotten from her. She apologized and bought me little gifts and went so far as to get me a facial. At the time, I didn't see it for what it was. She was luring me back in, and it worked. Who doesn't want to be loved by their mom? And after a long stint of love bombing, I finally caved and went back. Both Diamond and Nick were upset and disappointed in me. Back then, I didn't fully understand why, but now I do. They had basically saved me and were trying to put me on the right path. But my mom had already convinced me that I was a burden to them and that she had changed, and that she wanted to help me. So I figured if I go back and just focus on school and find a job, I could stay out of the way and avoid drama. But sadly, that plan didn't last long. When I got my first job, I was proud of myself, because I got it all by myself. And things were going relatively well for 2 weeks, that is, until I got my first paycheck. Mom went into a rage and demanded all of it. When I asked why, she said it was rent for me staying there, and like a ton of bricks, that's when it hit me. I wasn't home. I was being used. So from there, I regretfully quit my job, and not long after, my grades slipped. I dropped out again and fell into another depression, and day after day, I'd beat myself up for ever returning home. But over time, nights became the worst. That's when I began having recurring nightmares of being chased by a lion beast through a dark corridor. Every night, I'd wake up frantic, sweating, and heart racing. But one night, I awoke to see Norman standing in the middle of my room. And the second he saw my eyes open, he bolted out the door, leaving me shaken and confused. After that, I knew I had to keep a watchful eye on him. Days later, out of the blue, Kelly showed up, but this time she wasn't alone. She had a new boyfriend. His name was Anthony. He had a cool vibe, even took me and Kelly to a local carnival. He was funny but laid back and definitely gave off big brother energy, something I hadn't experienced before. And Kelly was in love. She even introduced him to Dad, but to my surprise, Dad approved. I was shocked because he didn't like people. Still, I couldn't shake the thought outsiders never lasted long in our family. Between the drama, the manipulation, and the dark toxicity, I wondered how long it would be before both Diamond and Anthony decided they'd had enough and leave.